Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today we're going to be talking about average monthly expenses and starting to dive into our unit on budgeting. What a budget is, what it's used for, and how you make one. So our goal for today, we want to be able to differentiate between projected and actual expenses, calculate average monthly expenses, and calculate the difference between projected and actual expenses. So to start, let's talk about record keeping. This is just a way to manage your money. There's plenty of different ways to do it. There's not just one right way, so it all comes down to personal preference and whatever works best for you. Expenditures are just keeping track of items that you spend money on. So keeping track of items you spend money on. This could be anything from your rent to your bills like your utilities, water, gas, electric, to going out to eat, that daily trip to Tim Hortons. Anything that you're spending money on can be tracked and should be tracked with budgeting. So a budget sheet is a record of your expenses. That's it. And there's many different ways you can record this. It might look a little different, but they all serve the same purpose. And it's also just money, keeping track of the money you spend for your living expenses. Okay, so there's a couple different things on a typical budget sheet. One of them is your projected expenses. So you should have some idea on how much something's going to cost you. And there's ways to figure that out, one of which we're going to talk about today, which is calculating your average monthly expenditure. But your projected is just what you expect something to cost you for the month. So the reason we go off of a monthly budget is because most of your bills come in monthly. You're paying your car bill once a month. You're paying your rent or your mortgage once a month. You're paying your phone bill once a month. So it's easy to look at things in the scope of 1 month as opposed to a week because, not all of these expenses hit at the same time. So week to week, it changes what expenses you're paying. But if you focus on the month as a whole, kind of encompass everything and keep track of all of your expenses or the vast majority of the expenses that you have to pay for. And it gives you a good picture of where your money's going and how much money you have left over after you've paid for everything. So that's projected. It's what you expect something to cost. Actual expenses is exactly what it is. It's how much you actually do spend. So the easy ones are things like your rent or mortgage, because that's something that doesn't change every month. If my mortgage is $1,000, I know I'm projecting $1,000, and I'm actually spending $1,000 on that. So it makes it nice and easy. So average monthly expenditure is just calculating. Maybe you go a few months and you want to figure out, okay, how much am I spending on groceries? Groceries is a little different because it changes month to month. You're very rarely going to get the exact same amount of groceries or money spent on groceries every month. So for this, what you're going to do is you're going to add up your number of months, okay, so the actual amount you've spent. So it's the sum of expenses divided by the number of months. So if I was figuring out my grocery bill from January, February, and March, I would take January, February, and March grocery bills, add it up, and then divide by 3 months. And that gives you the approximate amount you would need to budget for groceries every month. Now, it's not exact. Some months you're going to go over with groceries. Some months you're going to be under. And it's just a good way to keep track and give you an idea so you don't get caught off guard when you are required to pay for groceries or spend money on groceries. So a couple questions now, and then we'll be good to go with this first lesson. So Rudy's monthly grocery bill for 3 months in August, September, and October were $312.56, $235.40, and $315.44. What was his average monthly expenditure? So for this question, all we're going to do is add these up. So $312.56 plus $235.40 plus $315 $8.44. That's our first step. We want to get that total amount, and then we're just going to divide by the total number of months. So in this case, we're talking about 3 months, so we are going to divide by 3. So the total spent on groceries for 3 months was $863.40. When I divide that by 3, that's going to give us our average monthly expenditure, or about how much you should plan on paying each month for groceries. So that comes to $287.80. $287.80. And that's how you would figure out your average spent on groceries. So Rudy projected his average tri-monthly grocery bill to be $8.50. So this is what he thought he was going to pay for groceries. Obviously, he actually spent this $863.40. So did he overspend or underspend? Well, if he was hoping to spend this much, $8.50, and he actually spent $863 for 3 months, then he definitely overspent. Not by a lot, but he did overspend here. So yes, we overspent. Why could he have done this? This could have been due to any reason. Maybe it was the summer. Maybe he was having people over at his house, so he had to buy some extra food so he could host. Maybe he just seen a nice piece of steak or something like that that he wanted, so he treated himself to a really nice meal. It could be any number of reasons. He did go over, and how we figure that out is we always start with our projected. So we're going to go $8.50 is what we were hoping to spend, minus that $863. Do not be afraid of negative numbers. It's okay that our bigger number is not coming first. You want to try and keep it as the projected first minus the actual. So then it's very clear this comes to a negative $13.40. Ooh, that means I overspent by $13.40. Okay. So just understanding that that means you overspent. If you always put, So if you overspend, you will come up with a negative value there as long as you want projected minus your actual. So this is how your typical budget sheet actually looks. So it says Rudy's starting to look for home expenses and comparing his projected costs to his actual costs. Find the sum of both and compare. So what we want to do is, this is everything we've projected. We're projecting to spend this much money. How much money was actually spent is right here. Now, in a typical budget, you're never going to have it perfect where, oh, I'm always spending less than I was projecting. You're going to have some that are even, like you see here. You're going to have some where you actually spend more than what you projected. And you might have some that you spend less. So down here, we've got one where we actually spent less than we projected. There's going to be bits and pieces of everything there. So let's calculate how much I spent projected, or how much I was supposed to spend, versus how much I actually did. We're going to show that work right over here. So just by adding these two columns up, I can see that my projected cost should have been about $13.81. Rudy actually spent $15.27, so he did spend a little more than he was originally planning on. If we want to know how much more, we would just take $13.81, subtract that $15.27, and get our answer, which is negative, and that is okay. It just means he overspent, and it comes out to $146, I believe. So it would be a negative $146. So he overspent by $146. Last but not least, we've got one more sort of budget sheet. On this one, we've got, it's split up a little bit differently. If you notice the top here, it's split up by months on top, but it's also split up. So you've got your columns, your month. This is all for January. This is all for February. This is all for March. But there's also subsections on the side. This first section deals with income. So all of these values are money that you've earned throughout the month. And then as you go down, you've got money that you've spent on things like utilities, on medical, on your cell phone, on anything. So up top is how much money you've made, and at the bottom is how much money you've spent. So this is another way to look at things. You could look at how much money you're making and making sure that that is more than what you're spending. And usually if you do that, then you are in a pretty good place. So for the first month, the salary, or how much money you've made, would be that $2,700 plus the $250. So that actually just comes to $2,950 from your salary and your investments that you got money back from. So you made that much money. Now we can add up all of our expenses. So all you would have to do is, for January, add up all of these expenses right here. So start with the 112.38 and go all the way down to 47. When you do that, you get your answer of, you should get your answer of $616.70. And last but not least, let's figure out the difference. In this case, we actually were able to get somebody that made more money than they spent, so they are going to be in the positives. So you would take your $2,950, subtract your $616.70, and you would see that they came out with a positive $2,333.30. So that's good. Anytime you can put away a couple $1,000s a month, that is a successful month in my book. So why don't you guys finish up with the calculations for February and for March, and that's just going to be right here. So February, you've got your income, and then you're adding up your expenses. March, you've got your income, you're adding up your expenses. Thank you very much, and have a great day.